Hi, I'm Mark.
Hi, I'm Scott, and this is Church is Lame, the podcast where we try to fix the church by talking about the stupid things churches do that break the entire body.
So it looks like there's some broken bodies for sure here.
No doubt. So, Herschel Walker seems to be
hmm
running for government seat, but he may just be running for the door after this week. Okay, so Herschel Walker, sports legend, public speaker, and now governmental wannabe, has been running for office and in the hotly contested state of Georgia.
Oh my.
Right. And once again, I wouldn't touch this story because of politics, but here's the guy who wears his Christianity on his sleeve, so much so that he's listed on this very popular website of Christian speakers that you can hire to come to your Christian event, your Christian church, whatever. So, like, he very, very, very much wears his Christianity on his sleeve. Right.
So that's almost the troubling part of the story for me so far is that
Yeah.
there's a website where you can just have fancy Christian speakers come to you.
Every industry has trade shows, right? And Christianity is no different.
Mhm.
Like, so if you're an author
Yeah.
or a speaker, a motivational speaker, you need to find a way to get your name out there. It's like, hey, I'm somebody who wants to speak. And so they have these trade shows and stuff, right?
Yeah.
And, Christians running for office, no problem with that, right? His
Sure.
his athletic career speaks for, I almost said his athletic supporter. I don't know. His athletic
Well,
career speaks for itself. So it comes to find out through a couple of different sources that he's got a past, and we all have a past. So things like
yeah.
being, imagine this: an NFL player being physically violent off the field, right?
Really?
Yeah.
Weird.
So abusing wives, physically abusing kids, abandoned. There are reports that he's abandoned multiple children through multiple affairs, paid for
Yeah.
abortions, inflated claims of business success. I swear to God, if I didn't know it was Herschel Walker, I think we were talking about Donald Trump, right?
Right, but we don't want to go there.
Right. We don't want to go there.
Yeah.
Whole different thing. But I guess there's no such thing as bad PR. So if you want to flame us, go ahead and tell us how awful we are in the comments. We're here for it.
So,
No.
I mean, so what I'm hearing so far then is that, what we have here is a guy who's exemplifies everything that we as Christians should really dislike.
Exactly. Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. And because politics is politics, right? On the surface, nobody did their research and they said, well, this guy looks like a great guy to run in Georgia. He's black, right?
Yeah.
And he's going to appeal, and he's Republican, and he's a professed Christian. What's there not to like? And of
Mhm.
course, here we're coming down to the final weeks, and everything always comes out when you are running for office this level. Everything eventually comes out, right? And so we keep coming back to this message over and over again. If you are going to claim Jesus in your marketing, you need to resemble Jesus somehow in your life.
Right. And what is it? I mean, I guess I have my own special theory is that,
Yeah.
is that Christians just want a Christian stamp on anything. And then they will just endorse it because, having it stamped as Christian is somehow meaningful. It's like, the USDA organic
Yeah.
thing on a kind of soup,
Yeah. Locally grown.
but like we shouldn't be turning our brains off. So when we have a candidate that we like running for an office that we want them to fill,
Yeah.
like we cannot afford to just sit there and go, oh, well, this person, goes to church. And so therefore they're okay.
Yeah.
Because clearly they may not be.
Right. And so the NFL is rough on people, right? Nobody
Mhm.
comes out of the NFL unscathed. And in Herschel's case, I think there's a good case to be made that some of these head injuries are permanent. As
Yeah.
he claims to have been diagnosed with multiple personality disorders and things like that.
Oh boy.
Yeah. It's a weird thing when the people of God who are taught to be servants, to be the least of those, to be the ones to wash people's feet instead of being the ones who have your feet washed. It's always a weird, uncanny valley moment when it's those people who aspire to the highest levels of power. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And so automatically, as the church, I feel like we should not be suspicious, but we should definitely be discriminating about who it is that actually gets to ascend to those levels in the name of Jesus.
Right. I mean,
Yeah.
like the Bible, we have, I wish I could remember where, like, I mean, somewhere in like First and Second Corinthians, Timothy, you see like a whole bunch of like descriptions for jobs in the church.
Yeah.
And they're pretty universal on this. Like the person who's going to be a leader in the church, must be above reproach.
Yeah.
And if reproach is just a fancy word for saying you shouldn't be able to stand up and object to them because they have a moral history that is substandard.
Yeah.
And this is the church. But I really do feel like, on a personal level, that, if somebody wants to be elected into office, that I should hold them up to the same standard.
Yes.
They might not be a church leader in that case, but they are representing the church. I mean, or do you think I'm putting too stringent of a requirement on these people?
No. Once again, I'm going to quote the great prophet Uncle Ben from Spider-Man and say, "With great power comes great responsibility." Right? Like, it's hard enough living life as just a normal everyday person is hard enough.
Yeah.
Just talking about things like what's his name, the lead singer of Maroon 5, right? This week just it came out that he's
Yeah.
having an affair, right? Same thing with this other uber popular YouTuber from the Try Guys, right? It's hard enough just to be a normal guy and not have the everyday pleasures of life not take you down
Mhm.
the wrong road. Like, to protect your own heart and mind and not be persuaded by those things, right? And then you take it to the next level, church leaders, and in this case, somebody who wants to be a government leader. I can't even fathom the amount of temptations that come your way in all sorts of forms:
Yeah.
sexual temptations, bribery temptations, financial temptations, status of life. I can't even imagine. Of course that's hyperbole because you can. When you talk about men having private islands where other men go to have sex with kids, it's just unfathomable, like, how, as you aspire to these higher positions, how much more absurd life becomes. And so definitely
Mhm.
we as the church need to be saying, look, we need to know that the people that we send to these positions are the best of the best,
And then, like, on top of that, it's like, I mean, if somebody had in their deep past,
Mm-hmm.
they had troubles of whatever kind. I don't want to give a specific example.
Sure.
Just come up with something in your own head, right?
Yeah.
Like, how recent can that trouble have existed before we cut that person slack? I mean, because it seems like when it comes to elected office,
Yeah.
that's a sliding scale depending on whether or not the person is in your party or not.
Right.
And and so, like, for me, I kind of look at it like, well, if that was 20 years ago, if it's not happening now, I don't have a problem with it. But then, like for me, I'm like, well, when does it become too recent for me? And I'm not really sure what a good answer for that is. Like, I feel if it's less than a decade ago, I'm very suspect of it.
Yeah. Well, let me offer this as a sort of not even counterpoint. Let me offer this as
Mhm.
as a way of thinking about it. I don't know. I know people, and I'm sure you know people who've been through Alcoholics Anonymous.
Yeah, yeah.
They will tell you that it doesn't matter how long they've been with alcohol, they can never have another drink again. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And so I think when you in your life you've been through something and it has control over your life, it doesn't matter if you still act on it. If you know that something has control over your life, you need to be the one who puts on the big boy pants, the big girl pants, and make sure that you don't put yourself in a position to have your life taken over by it again. Right?
And public office is a nasty position to be in. I mean, I shouldn't say public office, any kind of high level position. So whether
Absolutely.
whether you're a big professional athlete or you're an important, just important rich person in general, or whatever,
Right.
like, you're in a position where getting away with those things becomes easier.
Right. The other part of this is Herschel Walker is probably never going to go down in history as one of the world's big thinkers. Right? And so, like at the most basic level, people thought, well, yeah, let's throw him up there. He's black, he's Christian, he's a Republican. Why not? And it never
Hmm.
occurred to Herschel that he was just being used. And nobody in the Republican Party actually cares if his life comes apart because of this. If he doesn't win, so what? He probably wasn't going to win it anyway. And so we just wait till the next election to put up another schmuck, and no harm, no foul to the Republican Party. And yet, Herschel here has been raked through the mud, and his whole history of his life has been, brought up again, just for him to be a sucker in a campaign.
Yeah, like there's always that risk, that you can always be turned politically into a token,
Yeah,
and that's just not good for anybody.
yeah. So yeah, the marriage between Christianity and politics. I've said over and over again, for people who are watching this who've never seen the show before, I say over and over again that I don't want this show to be politics, but there's no getting away from the fact that modern Christianity in America is so adjacent to politics as
Hmm.
to be one and the same at this point in my mind. You
Yeah,
know,
and I certainly don't expect anybody who is a person of faith, whatever your faith is, to check your faith at the door when it comes to your political engagement.
absolutely.
I mean, that's an absurd thing to ask anybody. Anybody who says that you should check your religious values at the door are a maniac.
Right.
But I think from many of the articles we've looked at in the past with big Christian organizations, that being put in a position of power as a Christian is dangerous,
Yeah.
and we need to be able to demand a lot out of them, but I think we also need to be able to support them too.
Absolutely. Definitely. And definitely, it was not part of God's plan that the church would be the ones who set people up just so that we can spike them back down,
Hmm.
which is going to be the case in this election. If I'm reading the tea leaves correctly, it just seems like the church has kind of gotten a taste of winning these last couple of years, and they don't want to give up the high. And so now the church is going to suffer because of it for backing somebody who clearly should not be put in this position, and Herschel's going to pay for this. So
Well, I got nothing to add to that
I
other
get
than the fact that, we need to, whatever we're doing politically, we need to make sure it's according to the ideals that we actually have.
yeah,
And that ideal cannot be just to win an election.
exactly right. That's
We
well
need to
said.
actually stand up for something.
Nicely said. All right, I think we're good with that. I think.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so listen, if you're watching this right now, you're on YouTube, most likely. So hit that subscribe button and, give us a solid here. And if you want to give us a comment, we'd love to hear that as well. If you want to send us an email, get your message right in front of us, churcheslanepodcast@gmail.com.
Yes, because we always want to read what you have to say, even if it doesn't agree with us, because heck, this is meant to be more than just us spouting off at you, but you can spout off back,
Absolutely.
which is wonderful. But with that, keep in mind that the Lord loves you and loves us, even though you hate us. And may the Lord bless you and keep you. May the Lord make his face to shine upon you and be gracious to you. May the Lord lift his countenance upon you and give you his peace. Amen.